right, so we get going, but go on the roll.
All right. Alderman Holtfer is excused. Alderwoman Day.
Here.
Alderman Craig.
Here.
Dennis Slate. John Howard.
Here.
Oh, is it Mercado?
Yeah.
Okay, and then Mohammed Howard.
Yep.
All right.
Okay.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Are there any citizens for the comment period? Like there aren't any, so consider that closed. Okay, let's get to it. A review of the recommended budgets for the library fund is on page 250.
So page 250 is the description. But you notice that what is in the binder doesn't have the revenues. So if you look at what I gave you, the dark blue tab has Fund 15 and Fund 16. And then it's also got the footnotes too. That wasn't included in your binder. I have a couple guests from the library here. You guys want to come up to the table, please?
Don't be shy.
Evening.
Hi, Chris.
Okay. Fire away.
Oh, we don't have many questions, we're just here
To answer your questions.
Okay.
I mean, I
We
think in
don't
the
have a
past,
presentation.
yeah,
right.
we went through the budget, thought you did a marvelous job.
In the past, I believe, well, this is the first time, my name is Maria, and by the way, I am on the Board of Trustees for the library. I am serving as president this year. In the past, our budget has not been included in what I refer to as the budget binder. I don't know what the official name for that is. Because the library board under Wisconsin state statutes, we receive the money from the city of Franklin, but the library board then sets our own budget and spends the money. So the city does not control how we spend the money. For years, we have tried really hard to be good, well, we've always tried to be good stewards of the money that we receive from the city of Franklin, and because of that, we wanted to be in your budget binder so you saw how we spent our money. And that's really why we pushed to be here this afternoon, pushed to be in the budget binder, and so I know we had discussions with Danielle and Mayor Nelson and Kelly, okay, and so we did a lot of preliminary work putting our budget together with them, and we appreciate it, and so we just wanted you to be aware of it, and if you have any questions for us, we would be more than happy to answer them and explain anything you need us to explain. I do know that the challenge this year with every department is going to be the fact that the cost of insurance is not even covered by the increase that we were given in our budget. And you guys know that, we know that, and yet we continue to attempt to put together a budget and money spending that that is fiscally responsible and good stewardship of the money we receive from the city. So. Yes. We also have, I don't know if they have like our 5-year capital plan. Did Jennifer submit that to the three of you after our meeting? Okay.
Or she did,
Yeah, that's fine. You have nothing to do the past couple weeks, right? The library building is 20 years old, and many of our major capital systems are at the point of failing and needing repair. So that has been a major consideration of our budget the past couple of years, and we do have a 5-year plan for those expenditures. Leading up to some of the staffing changes, we were being encouraged to spend down our fund balance. And we've attempted to, I don't want to say hang on to that, but to be proactive because we knew all these capital expenditures were coming up. And so if there is a question about our fund balance being high, it is because we have been forward-looking. And we know what's in the future because our building is 20 years old. So that's really why, if that in your minds is leaning high or heavy, that is what that has been our reasoning for it. We do have a board that most of us have been on it more than 3 years. I think you're the youngest member, the newest member of our board, right? Just about, yeah. So a lot of us have been looking at this year after year after year for, between 6 to 10 years. So anyway.
I have a question.
Absolutely.
That was brought up, and it may have already been resolved. The discussion of having a fineless operation where you're not imposing fines. Where were you guys with that?
We just had
The
an open discussion,
reason-
but no action.
Right.
Okay,
The
so-
reason it was brought up is because one of the libraries within the Milwaukee County system went fineless. Another one, I believe Wauwatosa and Shorewood now do not impose fines.
neither does Milwaukee.
Oh,
So there's
okay.
no-
Okay, so I didn't know about Milwaukee though. We had it on our agenda as a point of discussion, and it was just a discussion. And so we did not take action on it. Jennifer didn't bring it to us to take action on. She brought it to us as information. So I think the general consensus of the board, so I'm not speaking for the staff. The general consensus of the board is that at this point at this time we're not in favor of going fineless.
Okay, good. Just because of, we're in one hand, we're talking about all the shortcomings, short, and now, oh, by the way, and I don't know what those fines, I don't have it in front of me.
Was it like 15,000?
I mean, it's
pretty significant.
Yeah,
15 to 18,000.
18, yeah.
so obviously, money that we
And
need
that
to
was
bring
it.
in. So, so I would, my 2 cents is I would be in favor of continuing the fine process.
Sure.
And where that lies. That's one of the questions I had for that. But I'm glad to hear that it hasn't been abolished.
And like I said, I am speaking on behalf of the board, so I don't know
Right.
if the staff has discussed it beyond Jennifer and maybe Carrie. So we do not charge people to check out any of our materials, and we do not charge people to attend any of our programs.
Well, it's a phenomenal
So-
deal.
Right.
So,
So- So the fines are if, you don't bring your stuff back on time. Or,
Correct.
that was kind of the consensus. So
it's more than reasonable. I mean, our library program is phenomenal. It gives everything back to those that want to use, and it's a great deal. And I think that's at a minimum when we do impose fines for something that's pretty serious, not just board.
And it's nice to have your feedback on that too.
Thank you.
I have a question.
So when you talk about your upcoming capital expenses, is there one particular area that's sort of, outpacing the others as far as needing attention first? As far as like how you prioritizing where you want to make changes or improvements?
Did you want to speak to that, Alan, or do you want me to start?
Go for it. The only thing I think of is the air conditioning unit is pretty big.
Sure. So we have a buildings and grounds committee, that every 6 months meets and annually does a walkthrough of the library. Maybe they meet quarterly, but annually they do a walkthrough of the library and prioritize little and big things, and within the time I have been on the board, and that's probably, I'm coming up this 2024, I'll be done with 6 years. We have had at least 2 of those years where our HVAC bills have been close to $50,000. So the HVAC, or the air conditioning system is definitely top of the list. The roof is getting to be top of the list. The IRS report, I don't know what that's called, that whole IRS assessment, all the city buildings,
Proposal.
whatever. They also looked at the roof too as something needing to be done. And then,
Had the roof inspected?
well, the IRS, in that IRS study,
It's just a guideline.
exactly, as part of that, they
But
looked
yeah,
at the
you
roof,
had
I
it
thought.
inspected.
I don't know about inspect.
Not inspected,
No.
but it's something. It was in there. That's the only information we have. I
It
would
might
look,
be a good idea to have it
Like
inspected
inspected by a
because
roof.
they might find a small problem
Sure,
that can
sure.
be fixed.
right,
You know?
right. There have been things that there was something just recently that was down the line but got moved up. There was like a computer thing that, it's the whole, will it be supported? We thought it would be supported for X amount more years, but they may stop supporting it, so we would have to upgrade that. So things are fluid, but definitely the air conditioning system. I'm getting a pen to write.
Just want to check, for air conditioning, are there any grants that they, this kind of equipment is being a library? Because I'm a board member for a private school nonprofit. For them, they were able to get something done.
Sure.
I'm not sure.
Okay, does anybody have any questions?
Yeah, I do, because these are some pretty big expenses coming down the road that are going to hit the city, right? What do we do to prepare for it? And so when we talk about an inspection of the roof, maybe if someone's even willing to give an estimate for free, right? I'm sure there's still free estimates out there somewhere, but get some idea from your report saying, the roof is going to need this. What's that going to cost so we can budget plans for it in the future?
Absolutely.
Especially the air conditioning unit. I ain't going to the library from OAC.
Okay.
So-
I believe that we have some numbers for
Okay,
that.
okay.
That,
Yes.
All right,
Yes.
just curious.
definite numbers on
There's
that.
definite
Right.
numbers on that.
All right, so
I don't have that in front of me.
All
Is
right.
that a rooftop unit?
Yes.
Yes. Is it just one or is there more?
Things, yeah. I'm not a,
Did they give
Yeah.
you a commercial, I don't know what the average commercial lifespan
Yeah.
of an AC unit is sitting on a
About
roof.
20 years.
So yeah, we're right. And I can't believe it's already been 20 years since that's been built.
I
It
know.
seems like yesterday.
I know,
So,
yeah.
and this year you're doing carpeting, correct? Is that what I saw?
We're some
Some?
portion of the carpeting. We're
Okay.
doing it little bits at a time. We're not doing the whole thing at a
Okay.
time. But I know that we are replacing a portion of it this year.
Wasn't that from your own funds as well, from the library board, and not from the city budget?
Yes, and Alan, do you know the breakdown of that?
No.
No, okay.
Sorry, I was just
Yeah.
more concerned about the AC and the roof.
Yeah, it is a big concern. We've had the
Yeah.
AC go out in the past, and not only is it uncomfortable to be in the library, it's really bad for our materials. It could damage a lot of So it is a big concern. I'm Carrie Whitmore. I'm the assistant director at the library. Jennifer's on vacation, so I'm here. So if I look
Sorry.
confused sometimes, it's because I'm not quite sure.
Right. And I'm sure you know too, like the AC unit goes out, it affects all the technology and all that kind of stuff too. So I can't remember if we actually had to close the library last summer for part of the
It was a few summers ago.
a few summers ago. So, you know, we have not been able to operate at certain points when the air conditioner goes out. So.
When I had met with Jennifer
Yes.
a couple of months back, we had done a walk around the building, and I also had, she had provided me with information that the outdoor area
Yes.
where you have a lot of activity is not ADA compliant anymore because the concrete's sinking down and
Right.
there's now a kind of like a step up almost that has to get replaced as well. And the, I can't remember what they call it, mudjacking.
Yes.
Had already occurred, so they can't do the mudjacking route this time around. Was that included on the capital? I don't know.
I think that was wasn't it what I was, an internal, like an internal expense? Wasn't it something we were just gonna cover
Okay.
within our budget? The capital expenses were expenses we were looking at spending at least partly through fund balance. Am I right about that? Or was that?
That's one of the ways we can go to fund balance.
Right. And what is the update? Did we have the patio done? We call it the reading
We've
patio.
not had it.
We
Yeah, I
haven't.
couldn't remember what she had. It's been a couple of months. in my
Right.
memory.
I do know it is a priority.
Okay.
So, yeah.
I don't know if we'll be done, or I don't think
Okay.
it's a priority this year.
For this
only
year,
because
okay.
it's getting closer and
Right. That doesn't make sense.
So I think that might be in the plans for next year, in the spring.
I had a meeting with HF Pence, I believe, or Ness or something like that, from Johnson Controls. And when I had met with him, he was showing me municipal buildings in La Crosse that they had worked on to facilitate repairs such as like a new roof, solar powered energy source, and what have you. And from some of the grants that are out there, they were able to complete 7 buildings with a minimal city input of money. And we were talking about what we could do here and if we'd be able to actually do something like that here. And he had mentioned the library roof. So I think that's something, I'll have to see if I can get another meeting with him.
For solar, putting solar up there as well. I know that is something Jennifer and I've talked about a lot.
Yes.
And we would love to do. That would be,
It would be awesome.
Yeah.
And the time to do it would be when we redo the roof. Because to redo the roof
Well, they
and
would
then to
work with
add, right,
They
exactly.
They would
They
be
would do the
responsible
roof
for
and do
redoing the
everything
roof
at
and
once.
then also putting
Yeah.
the solar panels on.
And what company did you say that was?
It's, it is Johnson Controls.
Oh, okay.
And they have a grant writer on their team that facilitates this. They take it from engineering all the way through to the end product, turnkey, and it's at a minimum cost to the city, really. I mean, maybe like a couple $100,000 for substantial work that would be done. At least that's what,
Yes, solar. Or maybe you would who doesn't. I think there's one library in the system that may have solar, so we can talk to them.
right, well, and La Crosse is where they had most recently finished
Most
up.
recently.
So there's 7 municipal buildings in La Crosse,
Gotcha.
including their library that they had updated, brought, because there's grant money, there's funds there for sustainability.
Right.
So
right.
that's where they pull the funds through and then also meet all the check boxes for other items that need to get approved.
Okay.
If you will.
Now that you have mentioned that, I mean, for Johnson Control,
Oh, do you? Okay.
yes, They also have now, York, which is their air conditioning division. They acquired York a few years, which is their. I also know that they do some of these things as well. So if you want, I know the VP
Okay.
up there in the engineering and was part of this. I can casually check and see if they do anything like that. Or if you want to have a call, I can provide you.
Yeah, I mean, I would really like to try to kind of move that forward if possible, just because it sounds like an amazing program. I know
Yes.
we could benefit from it greatly in probably every municipal
Mhm.
building that we
Mhm.
have. So
Absolutely, yeah, and we're very excited about it, and I don't mean to make like excuses, but with our staffing resources and that we have discussed over the years, grant writing, we just do not have the staff to do it. And so we are doing the best we can with what we have, but we are limited by our staff. We would love a staff person who even is a part-time grant, right?
Yeah, that would be great.
But yeah, it is something the staff talks about, but just
right.
can never quite find that time.
Yeah, so just a correction, it's Jeff Van ESS. He is the account manager for Wisconsin Sustainable Infrastructure, Building Solutions North America, and they have their own staff writer
On their staff,
grant
sure,
writer.
grant
Yeah,
writer on,
staff.
gotcha, okay,
Yes. So
Perfect.
they take away all of the burden,
yeah,
essentially.
yeah. And thank you for that information, and you too, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I will reach back out to Jeff and see if I can get something scheduled, and then we can
Invite, yeah,
invite, some of you, probably not
Perfect.
everybody, but
Yeah,
just
yeah.
a couple, and then we can go over what's needed and how we can potentially
right,
have
begin
have them
some
help
sort of
us.
process, yeah.
Right.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, just real quick. I'm assuming it's the Milwaukee County Federated
Library system, yeah. Yeah.
Computer, is that the computer system that you mentioned that you're not sure if future support will be still there, or will that be something that
So
this
we,
line item will be continue to grow, or will this be something that will be eliminated? in the
so
future?
we refer to that as MICFLIS. And MICFLIS takes care of our computers for us. I believe the computers I'm talking about maybe are just the staff computers. It was a Windows issue where the operating system we have on our computers is
It's old enough.
yes, and I am not a computers person, so it's old that it's gonna within a couple of years not gonna be supported anymore. So
Okay, so it's
so it's not the MICFLIS computers. They handle all of that.
okay.
And that is done by I believe like a annual subscription or maintenance fee or however it's termed, that we pay a subscription to MICFLIS that they then handle like library system computers. But I think we're talking more about just the staff computers.
So that would be the one 5841 for computer equipment. That's a totally different sort of thing, and that's
Yes.
where
Yes.
those concerns are addressed. Right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Is this not supported by Jim? Library is completely different.
Correct.
We get our IT from the county
County?
systems,
Yes.
the Milwaukee County Federated Library System.
Yes.
Yep.
That is something I should mention too, that this year the security project was the priority for us too. Yeah, and it has been reflected in staff evaluation years, their concerns about that. So it's wonderful that is being done now. So that was a major capital.
Okay, anything else? Now I'm turning the meeting back to Dennis.
All right.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
See
Yeah.
you again.
You can always reach out.
It looks like we're moving on to capital outlay next, is that correct? If my notes are correct, page 300.
It's in the handout.
Okay. Looks like it starts, Danielle's got my notes here, looks like it starts with municipal court for Department 121. Are you going to make some comments on some of these, Kelly or Danielle, or?
Well, I know we did the municipal court in the last meeting
Okay,
and talked about that, so I wasn't really planning to make any
Okay.
additional comments.
all right, any
Um,
comments, or anybody have any questions? It looks like we just have the 3 items, or at least the cubicle workstations and Windows 12 replacement.
Yeah, that was the,
Okay.
same thing with the clerk
Okay,
I think,
election.
yeah, I think probably we have like street improvement, utility development, and then impact left potentially, because I know that when we were doing the departments, we eased into the capital improvement and capital outlay funds.
Yep. Talk about those, make commentaries.
Right.
Is there any here that we need to talk about specifically? We've got admin on second page here, 111.
No, nothing's changed.
Finance department. Computer equipment.
On the information services, in the capital year, we did talk about 174,000 for PC replacement for Windows 12. But how is that linked?
I'm sorry, is that what?
In the actual budget, I do see a 174,000 for PC replacement.
Yeah,
That is something.
I don't
not
think
here.
so, because I know that, I thought that Jim had spoken to that as well at the last meeting. I know that there was a lot that was added into one meeting, though. But, yeah, it's, computers need to be replaced,
No,
essentially, is what it,
it's supposed to be here.
Um,
in this one,
where is it?
in the capital outlay. This yellow.
Yeah, I think that where it is was determined by Danielle, that it was like the best place for it. 'Cause the budget for IT is not, it wouldn't be able to,
Yeah, I think,
yeah, it wouldn't be able
It
to,
looked-
yeah,
I think he's in the budget summary, so it's one of the things that Jim had listed in the budget summary, but
in the
it's,
second
it
one.
looks like it didn't carry over
Yeah,
into
that's
the,
what I'm
into
asking.
the capital. So I'm
Okay.
just guessing we're not
Yeah.
funding that
Okay.
this year is what I'm interpreting it as,
It's not.
because everything else is there.
We'll get clarification when she comes back. She
Okay.
had to step out for a minute
Yeah.
on a personal matter, so then
yeah, because I know that he had spoken to
Yeah,
it.
it did. But
Yeah,
I-
okay, so it didn't carry over.
Yeah.
Thank you. And that's the improvement, right, not the outlay?
Yeah. In the
Yeah,
outlay, it's
or
not.
is-
Yeah.
It's on the outlay, so I think where the
It's not
confusion
there.
is on this, the yellow tab that we have here,
Mhm.
that Daniel gave us today, under,
Windows 12.
it's Windows 12
I see.
PC replacements, it's 5,993 here, but in Jim's budget summary, he has it for 174,374.
Yeah, and I think this is specific to his department, so they
Yeah,
broke
that's what
things
I thought.
out and assigned it to departments, but overall, there's a certain dollar amount that was there.
And I believe the priority, if I'm remembering correctly when I was doing this, the priority numbering comes from the department head, right? They
Correct.
put that in
Mhm.
as their kind of, wish list items. And so he did not give it a number.
Right.
So I'm guessing it's
I think it's
not
a
as
must.
dire as the other.
I actually think it was one of those things that is a must, because I see on here the printers was a big piece. We were heading into a place where they were getting too old to actually be covered by a warranty and that sort of piece. So I don't know if that's what that means or not. I really can't, I'm sorry, I really can't speak to the X's that he put on here. I think Jim's budget for his infrastructure wish list, if you will, has been approved because the dire need of City Hall to be where we need to be technologically, and we have, in talking about the budget, we had identified, maybe Jim would be a better idea, way of putting it, Jim had identified several areas of concern where we had to step up our game, basically, when it comes to technology, so that way we weren't in a situation where if, let's say, if something happens to this building, it would essentially make it impossible to run City Hall.
Things that would no
else.
longer be supported.
Mhm.
There were outdated programs, outdated intricacies that he brought up in the last meeting that it's like it's everything was less than a Band-Aid for the last 5 years, less than a Band-Aid leading up to the culmination where we're in a really bad spot, so that's why we committed the funds we committed to bring that up to be current, to avoid a lot of future things. And Jim did a great job of explaining that, and
I'm doing a not so great job.
no, that was the
But no, yeah. I mean, he really did do a great job identifying where the security concerns are and the risks that how we operate today, where those exist, and how we need to move forward to this outline plan that he has. Make sure that we're mitigating those risks.
All right, anyone else with questions there? Comments? If not, we'll move forward to equipment replacement. That's got a pretty long list as well. Right, red tab, I guess, if everyone's got their packets. It looks like we've got vehicle replacements and
Yep.
number of departments, plus a major piece of highway.
Yeah, the front end loader. So again, we had the departments last week. They went into specific details of why they had requested the items that are on here. We actually did cover it during that time.
It was all covered in a nutshell. We met with the department heads prior. Department heads gave us the list of, they ranked it, what they needed. Like right now, what's important is to keep their daily operations afloat, and that's what we got back. So then they confirmed that when they were here last meeting, and that was where we're at today.
Yeah.
What's been discussed.
Any other further comments there?
I think I figured out the computer thing, just so we don't lose track of it. I think rather than being one line item under IT, I think it's broken up per department, because you look at the capital outlay again, you see police department Windows 12 PC replacements, 59, then fire for 27,000, building for 5,200, So they broke it out on here by department. So it's instead of one line item under IT, it is all here. I bet you add it all up, so.
Yeah, and I knew that he had done that with the fire department, so I assumed he had done it with others,
Yeah, that's the practice.
just so it's being applied, yeah,
Gets allocated back to.
exactly.
All right. If there's no further commentary there on equipment, move forward to capital improvement. Is light blue tab.
My reader's here. Improvement. Yeah, they covered all of this. Actually, I'm thinking about this. We had Glenn Morrow up here for DPW, water utilities, sewer utilities, streets, highways, parks, everything that he has a hand in or oversees. He was up here for quite a while answering those questions. But I'm happy to answer any question or try to answer any questions that do arise.
Is the road program listed here? Or what is it?
City streetlights, city streetlights, industrial, SK trails. Find the road.
Street improvement.
Yeah, I mean, we put that in.
I'm sorry, I'm looking at
Street improvements. Or at
Just
least-
how many dollars we have allocated for the.
Well, what we did is we also raised it, and Danielle can go into a little more detail. With the shared revenue, there's, I believe it's 1.29 million that the city's getting this year. And what we've done is we took that 0.29 million and are adding it to that fund. And then every year, anything over that 1 million, we're adding back to the street to help bolster that. Because right now, the city's got 181 miles of streets. And if you get a brand new street in tomorrow in your subdivision, it's just under 100 years till you'll get another new street there. That's how out of whack this street improvement fund is versus the replacement schedule.
Right.
So that's my efforts to try to get a little bit better of a hand, even though it's just small. But for right now, that's what we agreed that we would do.
I think it was raised somewhat last year.
Yeah.
Every year it's been getting, but we're, like I say, we have 181 miles
Still.
now. We have 3 major subdivisions getting ready to go, and then one in the hopper. I mean, where our mileage is gonna keep
Well, it's gonna even get worse too, because in St. Martin's Road and South North Cape Drive, or Road, whatever it is.
The one I live on, South North Cape Road.
Yeah.
You just went at me, didn't you?
Oh. But that maintenance reverted back to the city.
Correct. They turned from county highways.
Right.
One was County Highway MM, West St. Martin's Road,
Right.
and County Highway J, South North Cape Road, are now the city's responsibility after the county replaced them. So, yes, you are correct on that.
I do have a question. Isn't there some money available from the federal
Highway grant?
infrastructure bill?
I can't answer if there what's on that part of it. It'll be questions.
So we
for
haven't
Danielle.
looked into that yet.
Well, I'm gonna say if I'm looking at what
Well, I
Glenn
know
Morrow's
it
been
comes
looking
with
at
the state.
as our city engineer, and they've been directed to obviously take advantage of any grants or any monies that can come in back that way to do so. So I'm sure that he's done that given our 100-year turn now on streets. Literally, it's 100 years.
Yeah, I know.
Unreal. So Danielle, we've got a couple questions. The first question was if we can revert back. Do we still have the computer question answered?
Yeah,
I think we figured it out, yeah.
answered, yeah. Computers are charged per department.
Computers, printers.
which is probably why it's an X, like a must do, but
Yeah,
not
it was-
his number one priority, like
Yeah.
for his department.
The way that IT broke it out is he gave me this big scope of work for each department, anticipating that we would just charge it all to him and then do some back end cleanup, but I just decided to put it all per department and really want to try and determine how I felt, what department needed computers and printers versus which ones. Right.
Was there another question about any grants for the federal grants for roadway repairs?
Yeah.
Is that, John, your question?
The only thing that I know of is the LRIP, that's the every other year, and it is the grant that we get in 2024.
There's no money available for federal infrastructure bill.
I am not sure, but I can look into that.
It might be coming through as those COVID dollars too,
Right.
there again, I don't know all the eligibility, 2 or 3 years. Coming.
Do you remember what that's called, John, or what did you say it was? The, like a
Federal
road.
infrastructure bill. Passed.
There should be money for streets.
There might
Part of it, yeah. Airports, everything. $800 billion.
I wonder if it's not been put towards something else, allocated for some water project or something, or one of the trail projects.
Yeah, I know that we were supposed to get a grant. Mark grant, but I don't know if that's what it is.
I think that's one of the reasons why the state has a high surplus.
I can talk to Glenn about that.
All right, anything else on capital improvement? So we got public works, we got some trail designs that we're going over.
Yeah, they talked about that too.
Okay. Sounds good. Any other questions then? I don't wanna,
Need a dead horse.
what do we have next? Utility development?
We kind of covered.
Probably,
the-
they all kind of intertwine based
Yeah.
on,
the conversation and kind of where it,
Falling to and
organically
from.
went.
so this fund is the special assessments on water and sewer. Those connection fees, and then we transfer them over typically to either debt service or capital for spending, which we did 400,000 for water and 500,000 for sewer over to the capital improvement fund. Otherwise, incoming outstanding special assessments and interest. 24 or 25, I believe, that new, was it Minnesota Avenue? But that won't be in this fund for
Is it that
special
light?
assessments, but, yeah, so
So this is gonna be used for some of these dollars for our tower construction as well here this year.
Yep.
And if we can get any kind of traction with Jeff over at Johnson Controls, that was another area that he was very interested in working with us on, was the water utilities, more the infrastructure for the actual water lines and sewer, not just, the water tower, because that's not really something where I don't think that they were able to would be able to generate enough funds to do something with that. But for other pieces of the water. He was very interested in talking about what kind of projects we have. And I'm shooting this follow-up email out to him now. Get him back here.
All right. Any other further questions from anyone? Discussion? As it relates to utility development. Hearing none, let's go impact fees. 2, next page here. Binders. Biggest one I think that we were running up to was parks, and with the park land purchase, it should give us some relief there, correct?
Yes. And some of the additional funding in the 2024 budget helps move that along too with the 36 Ross. And then I know Glenn has a ton of projects coming down the pipeline that he's just prioritizing, and which ones we're going to do first. These up. The other one was water, but we use majority of that on water tower. 51.2. The water tower project, which is the $4,192,000.
That'll be impact fee.
I don't know if this has been discussed, and it has, great, and if it hasn't, that Glenn would be the best person to ask, but what are we doing with the existing water tower over here? Or here at the fire station? Are we leaving it, or have there been talks about taking it down?
Speak a little bit to
Okay,
that.
perfect.
Glenn did say when the other project was in its planning stages that one would be coming down. The fire station, the water tower behind the fire station eventually would be coming down. It looked like it was about a 6 or 7 year time frame from the last time that I spoke with him about that. And one reason why we were talking is there's a major, like a 16-inch main that goes right past the firehouse, and it kind of landlocks us a little bit. And as we look at our facilities expansion type thing, that could open up some opportunities for us when that comes down as well as the park and everything else. But short answer, it will be coming down eventually.
Right, okay, because I just wasn't sure if that was, who that was all discussed with, because I know that when it was brought up to me, the person that brought it up to me was asking, well, does it make sense? Is there still life in this? How long did it last? Are there problems?
Is that on Drexel?
No, it's right.
Okay, so we have it
Station
in 2029 and beyond. We moved. It was in 2020. Drexel Tower demolition.
Okay.
In the future.
Yeah, I thought it had remaining, had a overlapping.
Yeah. Something that I want to talk about in this fund, though, is last week, Paul and I had been working on debt service and ended up finding that the 2 new borrowings in 2023 have principal and interest payments that are coming or that are starting in 2024 that were not included, which would be your G. That being said, to keep the levy impact consistent with what we already had in 2024, we will be doing some some transfers from impact fees over to debt service to cover the additional increase in principal and interest payments in 24. However, as you can see all along the bottom, that being said, that borrowing really increased the amount of levy we're going to have in future years. That wasn't included. discuss making that change of using some fund balance in the debt service fund for those payments, but offsetting it with transportation impact fees, fire impact fees, impact fees we have.
And what's the principal amount of that? Most of that's water tower.
The 2023 payment, the two bonds for, one's for the DPW storage building and the other one's for capital projects that were budgeted in. Another number binder that has just the water and correct. That's just what's city obligation.
Yeah, I know when this was going through council, I was kind of, are we progressing along with having contracts issued and that work being done on all of the projects for 23? Are we going to have these dollars in advance?
Some of them, yes. The only one that I think that is not 100% in the works is the DPW. But all the other projects have pretty much either been funded and now we're just going to be reimbursing ourselves or their contracts are out.
And what stage are we? That's the hearing phase?
Yeah, for the cold storage building,
Mm-hmm.
final drawings.
But it's not the analysis of the whole new on the
So
corner.
this is a specific cold storage building, not the relocation. Because I think you're talking bringing fire department and DPW. No, that's not that part. This is strictly the cold storage building.
Because that sale is scheduled, what, early November, I recall? Targeted? Yeah, well, we'll have to obviously make those. This one where we've used some, John, maybe you can help. If we use some fund balance or debt service past as well? I don't know all the ins and outs of where excess fund balance can, but I see all as well as targeting kind of what that total tax levy forward, so that there's additional debt that bonds numbers we've got it projected here. 5, 6. All right, so that's debt service.
Well, that's impact fees, but that kind of covers debt service as well. Go with each other.
Yes. How do you come up with those? That just seems like the tax fees. Complicated. So much per household, or so much, fire or police or whatever, all allocated by.
Yeah, and then what is it, the parks impact fees are spent at the highest percentage. Is it not like 60%?
Like for a trail,
It depends on what it is.
it
yeah.
varies for like trails 67% down to 40% for new land. All sorts of different things. That's why we really push the trails and the connectivity, because we can use the highest level of that at the lowest level of matching for the city to try to get this connectivity.
And to talk about the use of these impact fees are more or less, these are debts that were taken out, 20 and 25 years ago that we're still paying payments on. Or that, I shouldn't say we're still paying. Explain it. They're debts that are paid off, but our debt services cover the payments as we continue to collect impact fees, and now
Above and beyond what we borrowed and spent.
correct, exactly. So now we're just transferring those impact fees back to cover.
Right. And that's completely acceptable, because there are impact fees that are above and beyond. They all that was time for.
And we just didn't have the impact fees on hand at that time. So the debt service fund was making those payments, and now that we have impact fees on hand, we're just reimbursing ourselves for what we have already paid.
Right. Anything further there? Questions? All right. It looks like, if I'm following correctly, we're going to move on to TID.
So TID 5 and 7.
70, is it?
3, 7?
Yeah. Last section, last TID. All right. So 5 and 7 looks like we're starting with Ballpark Commons and Evo Village, which is south across.
So Fund 33 and Fund 43, we have a debt service fund for each TID and then a capital projects fund. And as we collect the tax increment or developer guarantees, we put those into capital projects fund, and then we transfer money to pay off any debt service on a yearly basis. What I can say about TID 5 is we're looking at a big balloon developer guarantee payment in 24. The principal and interest on the bonds that we took out for TID 5 had very small principal and interest payments. We anticipated that the buildings would be up, the tax increment would be there now by 24, so the principal and interest payments ballooned in 24. However, the increment is not being generated at the expected rate. So the projected developer guarantee in 23 was $136,000. This year it's going to be $838,000 to cover the principal and interest based on the accrued in 2020, projected in 2024. We also get the pilot payment that is fairly similar, roughly around $90,000 a year, so that hasn't changed. The very small increase in a property tax, the tax increment. So again, there's going to just be that big jump in a developer guarantee that we're going to end up transferring over to the debt service fund for TID 5 to cover those principal and interest payments, almost $2.2 million. And then there's nothing else really going on in TID 5 or TID 7 since there's no development except the hotel in TID 5.
That's moving along.
So we did, Paul and I did do a little projection on that with the new construction at about $8 million of the hotel. So that's why you'll see the jump in the property, but still not enough to cover payment.
And the payment was made for 23, correct?
October is the
final
payment for their developer guarantee. other questions on T5?
We had dialogue with them regarding that.
I know that there's been some preliminary talk about potentially buying some of the development that did. But that it was like one conversation. I don't know where we are with all of that. I also know that there's been some things expressed about TID 7 having funds in it that could cover 5, but I don't know.
TID 7 is
Right.
over exceeded
Yes.
expectations, or at least with the sale. I think is
Did
good.
very well.
Right.
Yeah.
5, given COVID and delay.
Right.
Well, then you got the beautiful publicity with all the noise. You know, with the,
Yeah, I mean, and you know, the Pos General, Bad Axe, Flats, and Vitology all have kind of that component that Beulah Village had in terms of high-end apartments to them. And so I think that they're feeling confident that how they've planned it out, if that were to be built, it would be successful.
The it's not a concern of mine or anything, but with TID 7, there is that developer incentive that we. I haven't looked too much into it, but we are paying them an incentive of above and beyond the tax income that we're. So luckily, we're able to use interest on investments to pay them in 2024. It looks like the incentive is $115,000. Projected to have property taxes of $791,000.
page, that's 374. Yeah. Because, yeah, that debt was paid off in the second mortgage.
Correct. We have an agreement with them that as long as there's tax or taxing available, we're through 2040 of up to about 50. So from 24 through 2031, we're paying them $816,000 a year. But like I said, that the for 24, the tax increment is only $792,000. So keep an eye on that. Nope.
Yeah, and I don't know on how or Ballpark Commons and Village, the two.
At the moment, I don't believe we can do anything unless there's an amendment.
Oh, yeah, change the bid document.
Yeah, I mean, you can do transfers between the funds, but if Ballpark Commons reducing that money to get back to its.
And he's got a piece yet that he's still right by the intersection, right? Had proposed, was there something on the Velo Village side? Thinking correct that another development building or something going up right along
On the south side of Ross?
Yeah.
I thought that mall was coming down or something like that. Didn't we talk about that last
Well,
year?
that's 76
No,
in
that's-
Rawson.
yeah,
Okay,
that's-
all right.
I'm talking about, I thought there was, and I'm not sure if it's this green section here, but wasn't he talking about another mixed use or something kind of right on the corner there?
I did see one on it.
By the,
I see that property.
the Loomis
Is that the
off-ramp.
on-ramp?
Yeah.
Southbound on 36?
Yeah, but I thought it was right on, or right lined up along Boston, kind of,
Right at that intersection, stoplight.
yeah.
The south of stoplight, onto the left side when you're entering.
Isn't that where
the
Bad
Velo.
Axe is?
Velo,
Supposed to go?
it's on the left
So,
side.
yeah, behind Pick and Save in that area off of Terrace.
No,
Where
no,
that-
you're talking
no,
about west.
no,
okay.
it's just like, where the Velo Village intersections.
Right.
Mhm.
Right as
Right
you drive
at
in, I
that
thought it was
corner.
right off to the
Yep,
right.
At the corner of,
Parallel.
Yes, that is Bad Axe.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A small
yeah. that's
apartment mixed use.
what- Oh, that's what it's.
Yeah.
It's still.
In the works.
Yeah, there's been
Yes.
some.
A lot of stuff seems to be changing. Well, that clearly is the one that's gonna need our most attention.
TID 5 and TID 6.
Let's just ask a question because I missed part of what you're talking about. So TID 5 is not meeting, or is it? It's
No, so TID 5 projected 112 million in assessed value as of 23.
okay.
They're only at about, I believe, 60 right now, roughly. And so we determine what their assessed value is and what their projected tax increment is going to be. We minus this pilot, the stadium pilot that they're paying, and then they pay the difference of the debt service, and that's the guarantee they pay. Like I said, in 2023, they paid about $260,000 in a guarantee payment because the tax increment just wasn't enough to offset the debt service payments. But because they had said that they were going to have that much assessed value by 2024, that's when we ballooned the principal and interest payments on the debt service. And now that because the increment is still not covering, that's why it's going to go up to $840,000 in 2024.
Yeah, it's showing first year 67.
67.
Is that still being contested, those valuations?
Velo is. I believe both are. But Velo filed suit.
Correct. Didn't we just settle on?
It's working on a resolution, final resolution. Velo to challenge. I believe both are challenged.
I think, yeah, 'cause I know from our meeting with developer for TID 5, there were some concerns about the valuation of all of those projects and valuation being more realistic or in line with what provided. And I know that there was questions about what was provided by the assessor. Is that really accurate? Does it reflect everything? So those numbers do need to match or at least get closer. Just kind of what the developer was talking about.
Seemed like the development was quite aggressive. I think it-
That is,
Yes.
So this has been like a thorn in the city side for a little bit now. We've been talking about this last year as well. We had a lot of discussion about that development. Anything that can be corrected on it? I mean, just brainstorming because it's a hot spot for me. I know the gentleman who owns it, okay, and
it's a thorn in my side. So I'm just kind of curious, is there anything the city can do or what?
Well, specifically, are you talking about, be more specific, because I thought we could talk like two different projects, right? Which,
Oh, I'm talking about Ballpark Commons.
okay,
I'm sorry. Yeah. It just is what it is right now?
I'm not sure that there's anything that the city can do.
Okay.
I believe it's up to, the development just has to keep progressing and
It
the
just seems like so
assessments
much
have to
going
be
on right there that
but-
I would think the assessment would be fairly high. I mean, there's a lot of going on. It's done great things for the city, don't get me wrong, but there's a lot there, and I'd have to see the numbers, look at the numbers a little closer, I guess.
Yeah, and they called into question the assessment from the assessor's office as well.
Okay.
I'm not exactly sure where we were with those numbers.
It's still not even close. I mean,
Yeah,
I have
yeah,
some stuff I
that's
can
true.
email you regarding some numbers, just so you can take a look at it. Because even if the assessments were wrong based on some of the projections from TID5, like the developers, that they know that they're still not even remotely close
Okay.
to the 112 million, but they thought that they would be further based on what the assessment
Okay.
assumptions were.
All right.
Do they believe that the assessment is much higher than it should be, or is it lower than?
Well, the original was too high, and now the current is low. That's their belief.
Yeah, it's low that it should be assessed at a higher value.
But I think, to your comment, the city is responsible for the debt service to the extent that those developer payments are not made. So liability doesn't go away for the city. The dilemma there is really got sidewalled. COVID delayed it, so now you don't have the luxury of the time to get to where payments are, but it doesn't change the fact on the city commitment or liability. Taxpayers will pay it no matter what.
What it is?
well, we're gonna work on there's a lot of moving parts. We're diverting off of the thing, but
Right.
but we are aware of it, and it's going to be dealt with.
Thank you.
How about that?
And with that, do we want to segue into 6 then, on 377?
So we're kind of in the same dilemma in TID 6. That one is underperforming as well, and so the 3 major developers are paying developer incentives. I'm sorry, developer guarantees to cover assessment differentials. Their developer guarantee is based on assessment value and not debt service, like in TID 5. So looks like the tax increment will generate roughly about $315,000 in TID 6. However, the debt service payments in TID 6 are $613,000. We're looking at generally $700,000 in developer guarantees. And then again, there's really nothing going on as far as capital projects in this TID. It's mostly just collecting the increment, collecting the guarantees, and paying off debt service.
And is the forget the name, cars, is that moving forward? That building and development with car parts or?
Coparts? They're already there.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That is.
So they are the developers that we guarantee from.
I'm not sure what's happening with Cellco. All I heard was that they had bought the land from Sterling house, and then I think that was like the extent of
I saw
any
a developer's
use for them.
agreement going around, but
Okay.
that didn't look into much of it.
The housing seems to be steady rate.
Yeah, the max in that area was 79 homes, and I believe they're in the mid to upper 50s right now, completion.
We're just not seeing much increment on those.
All right, anything else? Questions, comments there? Hearing, seeing none, TID 8, 380. It's down on 7th Note already, correct?
So in today, we have a $3.5 million GO bond that we took out in 2021. So we are only paying interest payments on that right now. And that is being covered by the increment. The increment actually has, I mean, it's just skyrocketed in TID 8 already. We're looking at going from 23, we projected property taxes being around 225,000. With the jump in increment, we're looking at 785,000 in property tax. So that's generous. But we do have some projects that we've talked about. Road. I know that there's some other
Yeah,
going
there's
on.
so streets are a big concern there for some of the projects that we are trying to bring in. You're going to need Elm Road to really be up and running. And then I believe it's stormwater retention is another issue. So we're trying to work with the developers to incentivize them to bring business.
The Elm Road exit, is it going to be extended into the business park back there? Is that what you're referring to?
I believe that was the intention.
Okay, because that will help divert traffic off of Oakwood then, correct? Semi-traffic? Okay, all right.
Right, and so that's part of the problem with some of the projects that have come forward for that area is that we don't have those issues answered yet and resolved.
Yeah, and it looks like Elm Road was gonna be between a $5 and $6 million project. Had some discussions at council about how that's gonna be funded, how that's gonna move forward. There just hasn't been a whole lot of discussion on it yet, which is why we didn't put anything into the 2024 budget until we get some more finalized. I just wanted to see those principal payments don't start in so. What's that?
Commissioner was just asking when we were up, I said we were just here for, we wanted to have somebody here for any follow-up questions, so I'm just getting a finance education.
It's not fun, is it?
I felt bad for you.
But necessary.
Right.
Like, the agenda last, I'm like.
Yep. Yeah, the fire management degree only had one semester out in municipal finance.
All right, then it looks like we've got some, TID 9 here as well.
Yeah, it wasn't necessarily included.
Right.
I just wanted to just briefly talk quick and just kind of give you guys a little bit of, karma coming in, TID 9. We do have a $1.8 million borrowing that we're gonna have to do to help fund the sewer and infrastructure for karma. So again, that's not included in your mayor's recommended budget. It hasn't been remotely finalized yet. I just wanted that on everybody's mind, especially coming through finance. A lot of that will be coming up in a couple of months.
How soon are they looking to get?
Karma?
Yesterday.
Yeah, as soon as we tell them they can.
Yeah.
I was breathing before I answered that. And she jumped in.
Sorry.
Yeah, I mean, that's
Yesterday.
literally, this should have been already going, I mean, as far as, should have groundbreaking, we should have had a huge announcement, I mean, this should have been already.
And they do not want to wait. So as quick as we can get going, the better, just because of obviously, you know, the cost of the construction, especially as we near cold weather time and all of that. They really want to have something to go for 2023.
So I've engaged with Ellers, obviously, on the borrowing of that. I have an email here that just states that we need the funds probably April of 24. I'm going to start talking about the borrowing as of sooner based on
Could be.
the projects. I'm going to keep you updated on TID 9, so that's all that I have for that.
That's a pretty good acreage if I remember.
Are you talking the Karma property?
Karma.
It's 44 acres on the northeast corner of 76 Ryan.
Right.
That's what they own.
And they kind of wanted to, my understanding from what some of the Karma executives have expressed is that they would really like it. The land is sloped in such a way that they would like when you're driving up Ross and from here that you know, it really stands, or yeah, Ryan, sorry,
from the east,
wrong
yeah.
R. Yeah, exactly, that you're seeing it and it's just, you know, it really stands out.
The topography from north to south. So their whole plan is when you're in their building, okay, and you're looking east from their building, it slopes like this. So they want this all windows to look at the rolling, you know, lands and trees and all that wonderful nature that's there. They want to take advantage of that by having that whole east area one big. It's actually very neat. But that's, you know, that's why they own a large chunk, and that's where we have the kind of the disconnect with what some of the things that were advised on, you know, moving it, shifting it. And one of the misnomers was that the east side was a trucking terminal part. What's not, it's north. So there's some things that were misrepresented on our end, city's end, downstairs, that we're fixing. But Karma's plan, and it was well thought out, it's for the employees, part two, and guests and everything. When you go in there, when you look east, it's that whole rolling and sloping, fantastic.
I'm sorry, it's a trucking company?
No, Karma Labs.
Oh.
Carmex.
Makes Carmex?
Oh.
No
So this
no
will be
no
their-
trucking company for whoever's listening.
Yeah.
There will not be a trucking terminal or company here.
Yeah,
It's not here.
Thank you.
So this is their global headquarters.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
I think they're number 3 producer in the world.
Yes, they are, and there's a significant difference between 1, 2, 3. So, and then obviously the rest. So they're a leader and one of the 3 leaders in what they do.
That's at 76 in Rawson.
Mm-hmm.
76 and Ryan,
Right.
Ryan,
Thank you.
yes.
All right.
Northeast corner is
northeast corner,
Across the street.
where the old vegetable stand used.
yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, now I've got it. Thank you.
You can propose fire station.
Well, I think that's,
RB,
yeah, I was going to say, I don't think that's necessarily
that corner.
So
Yeah.
let me ask another question as a follow-up for cost-wise. Then is the plan to expand Ryan Road to double lanes all that way?
well, it's a WISDOT thing.
That's
It's not-
state.
So the state's got it,
Yeah.
because that's such a great road right now. It's in such great
Well,
shape.
that's already on there.
Is it? All right.
It's out, I think,
Yeah.
something, right?
Oh, really? But so do we know if the state's even going to do minor repairs to that road anytime soon, or no? We don't know. All right, just curious.
I don't know.
If Glenn was here, he'd probably be able to
Yeah,
answer
they-
that.
Yeah, right.
All right.
They might have requested
Right.
that or add an update, or whatever, but I think that whole Ryan Road,
The 4 corners, or
That
is it the
intersection
3
will
corners?
be-
all of it. Yeah, it has to get addressed, and then also for TID 9, it doesn't just include Karma. It does include at least 3 of the corners, correct? Because we had just did the
Yes.
TID meeting for the
Yeah, I want to
defining the.
there was 18, 20 different parcels that were going to be included in 9.
but not the fourth, not just the
Correct.
No,
Yeah,
it's
it's not
bigger.
just for
Yeah.
Karma. Correct. And the owner of the land across from where Karma's land is anxious to do something there as well.
Southeast corner.
All right, well, that's exciting. Keep you busy. Right?
Yeah.
Job security, is that what
Yeah.
you call it?
That's what we call it.
Or, well, or the opposite.
Well,
For some of us here.
All right, what, did you want, oh, then there's debt service here, but we've talked about that a
Yeah,
little
there
bit. Is
wasn't
there
anything I needed
anything else
to
that you want?
add, other than just stating that it's been handled in the past where every 2 years we do a borrowing for capital projects, so at least the amount of money it's costing the city to take out those borrowings, we might have to reconsider that for a discussion. So
Future
the
city problems.
Yeah, but the projections are on there. I have it on there that we do every other year, $1 million borrow for capital projects.
Yeah, and I think in the past, we've looked at different internal options, right, John? And I don't know all the ins and outs of what you can do with this, whatever. I mean, I think one thing I was trying to look at is what's the borrowing cost for just the admin side. Plus, I think it's just my perspective that you're going to get a better attractive bid audience, bigger dollars too than always just smaller. But we've been pretty lucky. I mean, we've paid down the debt to minimal levels. Now the city's kind of going through kind of a push ball or whatever, your bulk of activity coming through the pipe that's going to take some capital to happen, especially if the police fire, gets traction.
I think inflation is up the cost of our capital requirements too.
Oh, absolutely.
And we have some general fund balance that we can offset some project costs. We just have to keep our spending to a minimum operationally to not eat up fund balance, so.
Well, and as I think the mayor already said at the prior meeting, beneficiary waste management and wild card, which is been a godsend.
Yeah.
Yes, it has.
Those will only last for so long, and hopefully the city won't have super large construction. Some of the infrastructure need once it gets closer to fully built out. So nice if those two, so that source and need could kind of coincide with one and be a benefiting taxpayer. All right, what else do we have? Self-insurance, 387.
So how much did the group health go up this year?
$750,000 more than expected, and we're not done.
We have the same plan as we had before.
Yes, it's just the amount of claims is
There's
doubled.
there's a lot of large ticket claims that are health-wise. There were several cancers that came this year that everything was running pretty well for the 5 years prior.
Yeah.
And now we're just kind of on that down slope.
So that $750,000 increase, and I'll just project it a little louder in case anybody wants to verify. I mean, this was a bill that nobody would have expected coming through. This hit us between the eyes hard, and because we didn't plan on this, you can't plan for it, and all of a sudden, pow! So that was a game changer with the number of things that we wanted to do, and how we want. Our goal was that 0 tax increase, 3% raise for employees, and then still continue normal operations with no reduction in services. And then you got a $750,000 bill dropped in your lap that you didn't plan for. So that's where a lot of the changes generated from.
Are we still insuring spouses who work?
We're still insuring spouses and retirees.
I'm not sure of your question.
If let's say I had a spouse that worked outside of the house and he had insurance available to them,
Right.
are we requiring that they take their insurance
Oh.
that's offered, or are we still insuring them? And we are still insuring them.
Yes.
Although we have
Offering
talked about,
Well, that's one way to lower your bill.
right.
Another way to lower your bill, and I don't know what the copay is.
It's a
Emergency.
deductible first for so the high deductible plan is $3,000 this year. It's got to go up to $3,200 for next year because of IRS requirements. And there is no deductible or no copay. So it's deductible first, then co-insurance. A percentage of the cost up to an out-of-pocket maximum of, I don't know what the out-of-pocket maximum is. It's usually double.
Co-insurance 80% then after deductible.
Yeah.
So there's no copay for,
Not for the high deductible plan. There are, I believe, for the PPO plans that there's a PPO plan that my understanding from Dana is that the city didn't feel comfortable getting rid of because for the most part, the people that are on those plans are the retirees. And they're used to having this kind of copay plan, if you will, that's available. So I don't think that there's people, and not just retirees, but there's obviously current employees too, that they're just more comfortable with what they know. She told me that she's pointed out to them that if you're utilizing it, you're actually saving money going to the high deductible plan, but they're just not comfortable with changing that.
Are
Well-
we? Oh, sorry. Go ahead, John.
if I go to the emergency room, do I have to pay a copay?
No, if you're on the high deductible, no. You pay the entire bill that up to the deductible amount after discounts, network discount.
Are we the only people in our fund, or are we with other municipalities, or is it just City of Franklin
We're
is our own?
self-insured.
So, and
City of Franklin.
has there ever been any discussion about incorporating like more than one municipality, or I know there was talk about potentially the school district or something to make our pool of people bigger that could maybe spread the
Yes,
the,
there's
the
been a couple
pain of
options.
like high claim users out a little bit more?
Yeah, so a couple of things about that. We're a little late to do that this year, but certainly we could do that next year. I know that the idea was to maintain the self-insured situation, so that really eliminates some of those other options. But the other piece of it is that, sorry, forgot my point. I had a point.
Yeah, no, I get how it would be difficult with the school district with, bargaining for insurance and then having our own self-funded plan and different goals and whatnot. I get that. I'm trying to think of ways to
lower the cost.
lower our premium piece.
And I don't think you wanna do that in a bad year either.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh,
well,
for sure.
and, yeah, to change the plans and that sort of
Before,
thing.
when we had good experience, that would.
Yeah, I was gonna say that was the thing. Our experience, when you compared it to other municipalities, we were running really good.
Very good.
Yeah, really good, really clean, and now we are obviously it's taken a turn.
Well, our average age is probably
Yeah,
faster
I
than-
think it's in the 40s.
Well, and
Right.
to answer your question, the PPO plan, it's $400 copay per month if you're on the PPO plan, but the high deductible plan is after you.
Right, and the deductible's the 3,000.
Okay, but you still might wanna think about, not insuring that spouse who's working. That's not really our obligation, that's the obligation of the company that he's working.
Right.
or she.
Yeah.
And you're seeing that, I think, more and more.
Yeah.
I know,
Exactly.
we did that at Sharp Packaging, I used to go there, and, I don't know, I do.
Yeah, I've seen that occur in several different corporations because, again, you can save a lot of money. If it's
Yeah.
available, then you do that. But I don't know how much it would save us because of the amount of people that may not have spouses that are employed elsewhere. I know my husband's not employed anywhere, so he doesn't have that available to him. And then the retirees, that would change that as well.
The other
The
thing,
retirees are in their own
Yeah, Dr. Dairy's on it.
fund. Well, and we are contributing to their, to the high deductible plan HSA account, which is at $177,000 for.
the other thing is that high deductible limit. I said we're at the bottom of IRS's requiring us. They want to start ratchet that up, get ahead of that curve.
We
Those
have
costs are
discussed
going up.
that. We did discuss increasing it more than what just the IRS requirements were. But we felt that we didn't want to hit the employees
Yeah, that
with
with
a
the
double
premium
whammy
peak would
of
be-
the premiums
Right.
going up
That's horrible.
over $50 and increasing.
Right.
We were going to do one or the other, just unfortunately.
So where did you shift the money from? Is it gonna be a tax increase, or did you just take it from a fund, or where's the extra? I mean, that's a lot of money, and it's unfortunate.
750,000.
Yeah,
We shifted it to, well, the employees have a 16% increase coming out of their paychecks. And that's because it hasn't been increased, but very minimally, if at all, over the last 5 to 6 years. So the city had been taking on that burden, so now the city received their portion of their increase, which was 31%, and then the employees then did the 16% to make it fair and equitable.
And the other component will be shifted to the taxpayer. But,
Yes.
but the goal was a 0 tax increase. I think even worst case scenario, we're like a 0.5%. So we're trying to balance it out, but still get the employee that 3%.
I think it's something that we should be, do our due diligence for next year to see where we could save money. Maybe a different insurer, maybe.
How long have we been with? We're with Humana right now, right?
No, we are with
UMR.
UMR, which is a subdivision
How
or
many, do you know
subsidiary.
how many years we've been with them?
Yeah.
They've been, prior administration have almost biannually looked to switch.
Mhm.
So we've got some other things that we're going to start looking at right away in January to bring forth by mid-year some viable options. And, and looking at those mergers with even, and I understand we get collective bargaining agreements, but we've been also given, we get solicited by all these other companies. So we'll have them come in during council items, agenda items, have them talk, have them kind of pitch what they could do for us, because they're going to have to look at our situation. And if it's a viable thing to make that switch, we make the switch. I mean, we're not obligated to be with any company, and we're also not married to any company. So, I mean, I think, I know once, we dealt with this when I was an alder, I think every other year, looking at another company.
Yeah, I mean, we have brokers, if you will, who it's their responsibility to go out to market and get bids from several different insurers and to do the comparison and bring that back to us. I don't believe that they did that this year, and we don't have much data for them for experience because we switched a couple of years ago, I think. So our information is kind of in the infantile stage, especially for like the stop loss and the health insurance. I know that we had looked at ways that we could save money from a prescription standpoint. We have people that have Humira as a prescription, which is thousands of dollars.
Almost 30 grand.
Like a month. Yeah. So we had things like that to look.
I think the FDA was looking at generic.
Yeah. Option.
that should
There's
have
a
a
couple-
biosimilar out shortly. So
Yes, exactly. That's what they were talking about in our last meeting was how that's on the horizon.
And I thought that they did tell us that just based on their experience and expertise, that they had just looked at the pricing alone of other insurance. Wasn't even viable for us to think about switching at this point, especially with how high our claims were.
Right.
For sure.
Right.
It just, it wasn't worth the while of doing all that research based on what we were dealt with.
Right.
Yeah, so just to pause on that, they already have a biosimilar output, so it might be indication specific for those. I mean, you obviously can't get into because of HIPAA stuff, but there should be a biosimilar for Humira on the market. I just looked at the FDA website. There is.
And that was what they talked about
Yeah.
is
All right.
Was it 2 times ago or something?
Yeah.
2 meetings ago?
Okay. Just-
Yeah, we
So,
talked
like,
about that.
back in July, that was kind of questionable, but when we just talked to her, they were excited that there was something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, that's a substantial cost. But ironically, we did see a savings with the prescription plan, didn't we? Wasn't that the prescription plan that we were able to lock in for October 1st, and there was a savings on?
Yes, with Servier.
Yeah, with Servier. Not enough of one, obviously.
Our dental plan did increase slightly. It was not much so. And then the NICE insurance went up $4 a employee, which the city eats that, or the city provides that at no cost for the employee. We saw that increase.
What was that for?
The NICE healthcare, it's the one that's free to the employee.
Have you seen? I know we've only had it for a few years, but does it look like that is working to keep those run-of-the-mill kind of visits down?
I think that would be something.
Yeah,
I know.
I don't know if we've gotten a utilization report from them yet.
I'm just curious how, if it's, really for what we put into it, are we getting on the back end for what we're putting into it?
I know I use them.
I know employees love it. I just, from a cost perspective.
Right. I know that, for example, for Dana, she said that she's used it since we've gotten it and hasn't seen her doctor or a different doctor since, which has been nice because there's no out-of-pocket expense for her then. I just used them to do like a physical and then to get some allergy medications that were just shipped to me and free, which
I'd have to pull up the numbers, but what I can say about it is I believe $38 an employee. We run them, and that includes employees that don't have benefits. Right. So it's every employee. It was like 244, I think, is what we did for 24. The plus side is even though we're paying for one employee, it involves your entire household. Your kid falls, your kid has something. So you're probably double, tripling, quadrupling that amount, and we're only paying for one employee. And you can have families of up to how many ever that are kind of getting it at no cost as well. So
looking at me,
we can, lower claims on the other side by promoting this more.
I would
maybe
so,
we can, start to see the balance, shift.
That was something that they discussed, that when they come in front of the council, that they were going to make sure that they really reiterated, and when they do the open enrollment discussion, to really push for these employees
to buy into it.
Yeah, using NICE insurance or going to the doctor more frequently instead of these emergency, or don't go to urgent care for a stuffy nose, go see your doctor, that kind of stuff, to lower some of those costs.
Yeah, instead of emergency, go to walk in first, or instead of walk in, contact your doctor. Instead of your doctor, use NICE healthcare. Yeah, those start smaller with those claims if possible. But that's going to be a educational piece, I think, and I think that the better we explain that to the employees, the higher the utilization will be. Because you can't go wrong with people that will come to you, bring imaging, bring whatever they need to, send you out for labs. You're not paying anything. For the most part, they just come to you, and then, like I said, whatever prescriptions they prescribe get mailed to your home for free.
One thing you're going to have to look at, Aurora's closing a lot of their urgent cares on weekends. right? And that's gonna divert some of your employees to the ER.
Yeah.
Right, which is, they're doing it as a cost-cutting measure.
I didn't know that. I heard that, but I didn't know that was
So-
coming to fruition.
This one here is gonna be closed weekends now as well. Edgerton's gonna be probably the only one open on the south side on weekends. So that's a big deal, right? Because now you got mom with her little boy, right?
Exactly.
So I don't know what Ascension's doing over here. Maybe that'll drive them to open up more, but just something to keep a pulse on.
Yeah, I've noticed the urgent care hours aren't nearly as good as they used to be. Yeah, they're shortening their window, and unfortunately, some of it coincides with the doctor office hours, which, you know, when you have an urgent need to see a doctor, Murphy's Law makes it fall outside of the doctor office hours.
All right, anything else there? Self-insurance. Challenge going forward, but it's not,
Luckily, we have a lot of fun. It's always.
all right, what else do we have? I think we have, I see on the agenda if there's any follow-up from last Tuesday or Thursday's meeting. Don't know
Yeah,
that.
I've been keeping track of, discussions that we've had that might be I saw discuss on Wednesday. Discussion from any.
So the next meeting is Wednesday then, 4 p.m.
Yep.
And a lot of information presented. That Wednesday is a conflict again. But one thing I did want to just question, Kelly, is you brought up the school district and stoplight issue on that was brought up. And I don't know the whole background of that discussion and where it is, but it looks like obviously safety concern.
It's a huge
Huge.
safety concern. I have one friend who has twins that go to the high school, and another son. Got 3 kids in high school, all in sophomore, and she has seen 3 near accidents occur in just, I think, the span of 2 weeks.
And it's at the entrance. So,
It's at the main entrance. Yep.
Main entrance, and we remember the school board. The school board is definitely supporting it. They recognize the risks that are going on, the potential danger, and this is an ongoing thing. They're ready to act.
Yeah.
And we're looking at doing some sort of cost share. However, they would maintain it and they would do that part forward. We're looking at right now, are there options which are solar powered with timers, opposed to having to trench and all that extra stuff. So that is in big con, and I was there Friday night with the school board president, and we talked at the high school football game and talked more about that and where we're at, how to get moving forward with it. And the superintendent was there as well. And she is 100% in to get this done as quick as possible. And we'll be looking to bring something back to council, for their recommendation. But we want to get some solid numbers.
So, I mean, just to kind of illustrate the need, last week, this same friend that had basically put her vehicle in front of another vehicle so a child didn't get hit walking to school, twice in the first month of school. She also witnessed last week a police officer who obviously, you're likely to pay more attention to these things, almost hit a pedestrian as well. And that was just this last week. So, my goal from a safety standpoint is let's get this put in as soon as possible before we are dealing with a loss.
right. Well, and that as I was kind of contemplating some of this at home it's like, well, we talked about fund balance and over our target. I mean, that may be an area to go. I know there's limited avenues or limited places we can go. Uses. But I think through capital is one of them, and you guys have figured it out as to how it goes. But I mean, something like that where it's a citizen benefit, safety benefit all across the board, and it's capital, more of a one-time school district realizes, as you said, they're going to share, they're going to operate, costs operate things down the road, be able to move that forward and get it done. Seems obviously council decision, but I think thought out plan like that with some dollars there or another place probably makes all the sense.
Yeah, I actually had just followed up with them too to talk about, do we have, like a boilerplate contract that exists that we can adjust for this need. But, the message that has been provided to them is that the city is willing to do a cost share on the actual installation and equipment, and then they would take the maintenance from then on.
Well, and John, to your point, I know I see it too. New systems that are coming out, and I don't know specifically what they're called, but I mean, they can be very, very workable. And then yet the old ones can be kind of a pain in the ass when, there's nobody on the cross streets and you're sitting there for,
Right.
90 seconds waiting for the thing to change. But whether it's powered to solar or the way it's sensing or time periods only, I mean, the need there is going to be pretty.
It's the sensors right now, not to divert too much, but it's the old way of putting them in is they're weight triggered. That's like the one by the Irish Cottage was all messed up forever. So if you were going eastbound on Ryan to cross over, you could sit there for hours, and that light would not change.
Yeah.
It would not change because it's triggered by weight.
And if you're on a
New-
motorcycle, you don't weigh enough. And you would
Well,
sit there forever.
Yeah, no, I would sit there in my family truckster and sit there and wait at crickets after second shift. Crickets, waiting like an idiot, and there's nobody around me, but the light's not changing. So what do? So but the point is
run that light.
so, but I would sit there because that's the old way. The new way, solar powered, triggered by motion, and that's what clicks the timers, motion. So when you do pull up, it's the motion. So if you're on your motorcycle or whatever, skateboard
Or walking. Yeah.
and you can do that. So anyway,
e-bike.
Or your
Yeah,
e-bike. Your
I
e-bike.
mean, it's obviously, it's a very real concern. I have several friends that live in that neighborhood right by the high school, and people that don't even have kids in high school that continually talk about, this is so dangerous, and what will it take? Will it take the life of somebody to mitigate against this risk? And I just think now's the time to make something happen before we have a horrible situation.
Look at the example in Oak Creek that happened a few years ago. The teacher had a kid crossing the street. So, get her done.
Yeah, right. That's, I mean, that's, and it's not just the students. I mean, it's right in a neighborhood. I mean, it's on 51st. The traffic is pretty extensive, and I think that it just makes sense to have something there that will help to minimize these near accidents that have been occurring.
All right, anything else from the group? If not, I think we'll take a motion to adjourn. And again,
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Again, reminder, Wednesday at 4 p.m.